A warm welcome to Diski Talk with Leono. If you're tuning in for the very first time, I do ask that you please subscribe and hit that notification bell. If you've been a part of this journey, I hope you thoroughly enjoy this episode. So, on today's episode, I discuss all things Kaizer Chiefs as I have a look at the new players that they have signed. So, Kaizer Chiefs have announced players, and these are the new players that will be joining Kaizer Chiefs ahead of the new season. So, on today's episode then, we're going to have a look at those players from an individual perspective and then have a look at how do they fit into the team. So, when you do have a look at it then, we will start from defense and then we will work it up. So, the first player then that we have a look at is Kwinika. So when you do have a look at Zeta, this is a player then who was playing at Stellenbosch and who did have a very, very good season with Stellenbosch. He even went on to win Player of the Season with Stellenbosch and he was captaining them as well. So when you do have a look at Zeta then, this is a centre back, and when you have a look then at his qualities, so he does have leadership qualities, A. B, he is a very, very strong defender. Aerially, he's also very strong, and he is then a defender who reads the game very well. And he's also quite comfortable on the ball with regards then to ensuring that he is able then to assist in building up play. So when you do have a look at Zeta then, the nice thing about him then is that over the years, he has played in various systems. So he has played within a 2. So he can play within a 2, and he can play as the left-sided centre-back. He is comfortable. He can play as a right-sided centre-back, and he can also play in a 3. Whenever then he does play within a 3-man defence, he does often then play as the middle centre-back, where then he would be looking then to add that extra layer of defence for his defence. And the good thing then about this signing is that it does add that leadership to the back, especially considering then that Kaizer Chiefs had lacked a bit of that leadership with regards to their defense. And when you do have a look at Zeta, this is a player then who is quite experienced and has many years within the DStv Premiership. So this is then a very good signing for Kaizer Chiefs that will then strengthen their defense. And then moving on then right along, the next player we have a look at then. So we'll have a look then at Yusuf Mart. So when you have a look at Yusuf Mart, this is a midfielder, and having a look at Yusuf Mart, he can either play as a defensive midfielder or he can play as an 8. But his main position is as an 8. But when I do look at Yusuf Mart and I look at his qualities, I think coming into this Kaizer Chiefs side, he could be a very, very good defensive midfielder. And I say that because when you do have a look at his qualities with regards to A, he is an ambipedal player, so that means left foot, right foot, he's very comfortable, and his technical ability with regards to his passing range is quite phenomenal. So this is a player then who could be quite key with regards to building up play and being able then to progress the ball for this Kaizer Chiefs side within those deep pockets. So when you do have a look at him then, why then he becomes key is that from this pocket of space, this is a player then who can look to play that pass, and he can play that pass as well. And because then he is quite comfortable on the ball, and he is well and able with both feet in those tight pockets within deep, he is able then to turn and get out of those tight situations, and very well able then with regards to progressing the ball and working it into consolidation phase for this Kaizer Chiefs side. And the thing is with him then, he can play then either as a lone pivot or he can play within a double pivot. And if he does play then in a double pivot, like I did mention, because he is an 8, he can go box to box. He can be the more advanced within the double pivot, or he can be the sitter within the pivot. Moving on then right along, the next player then, you do have Matlou. So when you have a look at Matlou, he has signed then from Swallows. So he is then a 2-year deal with Matlou. And when you have a look at Matlou then, this is a midfielder who does play as an 8, he is box to box, he is comfortable on the ball, and he does offer quite a lot of energy within the heart of midfield as well. But when you do have a look at Matlou and you have a look at the fact that the past season for Swallows, he was then a player who at some point he wasn't getting regular minutes. So it's going to be very interesting to see how he adapts for Kaizer Chiefs and if he is then able then to make an impact within the heart of midfield for Kaizer Chiefs. Moving on then, right along, when you have a look at the next player, you then have Ucitebe. So when you have a look at Ucitebe, this is a player then who is very similar then with regards to how then he can play either within a double pivot or he can play as an 8, but his main position is as an 8. So when you have a look at Sithebe, this is a player then who will offer Kaizer Chiefs a lot of energy within the heart of midfield. Also, what's interesting to note then is that Ucitebe and Yusuf Mart formed part of a very, very good double pivot, which did very well at the Kosafa Cup for Bafana. And within the heart of midfield, they did very well together. So could be interesting to see if they would be playing together within a double pivot. And also considering then that they do have an understanding. So that is Sithebe. And it's going to be interesting then to see what value does he add within the heart of midfield for Kaizer Chiefs. Moving on then, right along, you have a look at the next player. The next player then you do have Solomons. So you have a look at Solomons. The interesting thing about him is that Solomons naturally so he is a winger. So Solomons isn't a fullback, but when Vuyo Mere had left Swallows within the January window period, Swallows then didn't have a right back. So Coach Dylan Kerr then took Dylan Solomons and then played him as a right back, but he is a right winger by trade. So when you do have a look at him, then he is very, very quick. That is his main strength. And it's going to be very interesting to see then if Kaizer Chiefs have indeed signed him as a fullback or if they've signed him as a winger, because naturally, like I've mentioned, he is a winger. As a fullback, I think that he does tend to struggle by virtue of the fact that it isn't his natural position, as at times he does get caught out of position, and with regards then to his body orientation at times isn't adequate. And at the end of the day, I don't blame him or I don't put him to fault, because naturally he is an offensive player as opposed to a defensive player. So it's going to be interesting then with Solomons. Does he play as a right back or does he play as a winger? And then moving on then, right along, when you have a look at the next player, you do then have MAHLATSE. So when you do have a look at MAHLATSE, this is a player then who can play off the wing, or he can play then within the heart of midfield as an attacking midfielder. So when you have a look at MAHLATSE, then this is a player then who was playing at SuperSport previously, and then he did make his move to Swallows, and he now finds himself then having been signed by Kaizer Chiefs on a 3-year deal. So with MAHLATSE then, this is a player then who is very skillful and he's very, very comfortable on the ball. So with him then, he does offer you that creativity from the heart of midfield or from the wide areas and can penetrate into the final third. So going to be very interesting to see then if Arthur Zwane uses him as an attacking midfielder or he uses him off the wing. So he can come off the left wing, or he can come off the right wing, or he can come as an attacking midfielder. This is a player then who is very, very comfortable on the ball. Moving on then right along. Next player to look at then is Shabalala. So this is a player then who's been doing very well for Kaizer Chiefs, and a player then who did very well within the DDC for Kaizer Chiefs, and a player then who's been developed very, very well. And when you do have a look at Shabalala, this is a very exciting young prospect, and he has signed a 3-year deal. And when you do have a look at him and you have a look at his qualities, this is a very, very creative player with an eye for goal, and he's quite quick as well. So when you have a look at it then, this is a player then who can offer options off the bench and can become a very good impact player for Kaizer Chiefs. But when you do have a look at him and you have a look at his qualities, I think this is a player that if he can settle and adapt to first team, this is a player then who can actually go on to become a great player for Kaizer Chiefs, and a player then who I foresee, if he does well and he does adapt, I don't foresee him staying within South Africa for too long because of the amount of ability and the amount of talent that he has as well. So when you do have a look at him then, this is a player then who does predominantly play off the wings. So he can come off the right, he can come off the left, and a player then who we saw then within the DDC that he's got an eye for goal, and a player who's cool, calm, and composed, and has great game intelligence as well. So when you do have a look at Ntutuzi Shabalala, I think this is a player then that can go on to become a very, very phenomenal player. Not just for Kaizer Chiefs, but for Bafana Bafana in the future as well. Moving on then, right along. Last but not least, you do then have Ashley Dupreeh. So when you have a look at Ashley Dupreeh, this is a player then who can come off the left, who can come off the right, and can also play then as the striker up front. So when you do have a look at Ashley Dupreeh then, this is a player then who did very well for Stellenbosch in the past season. He scored a lot of goals and he also contributed with assists as well. When you have a look at Ashley Dupreeh then, this is a player with great technical ability with regards then to his passes and with regards then to his crosses as well. So he's not just a player who is very quick, who's got an eye for goal, but he's also a player then who has improved the technical ability and the technical aspect side of his game as well, and a player then who can contribute with assists and goals as well. But when you do have a look at this Kaizer Chiefs side, and with regards to the amount of strikers they've let go, I think then he will play up front as the main striker, and he also then does give you options because he can also start off the left as well. So for example, if Billiat were to be out injured, you could always start with Dupreeh off the left, and then depending on if Kaizer Chiefs gone to sign a striker, then you could always start with the striker and then have Dolly coming off the right as well. So these are the signings that Kaizer Chiefs have made. Do let me know at home, what do you make of these signings, and do you think that they can make an impact for Kaizer Chiefs? Which players are you looking forward to the most? However, when you do have a look at it then in the extra time segment, I will then pick my 11 with regards to the signings that Kaizer Chiefs have made and the players which have been at Kaizer Chiefs. So this is the 11 that I think could potentially start going into the new season. So when you do have a look at it then, in goals. So in goals, they've got two options, I think. In my opinion, there's Bruce, and then you also have Peterson as well. But I think then between Bruce and Peterson, I think that they will start with Peterson, but like I mentioned, you also have Bruce, who is also a very good candidate. They could go with either one of the two. And I also then do foresee them playing then with a 4-2-3-1 system. So at right back, I do see Frostlast going to right back. Two centre backs, Njabulo Ngobo, Zita Kwinika as the left-sided centre back. And then at left back, I do foresee Mabiliso playing as the left back. If not Mabiliso at left back, then you could potentially see Mashiane, who is also then still a part of the squad because there were reports that he might leave. There is then also Mashiane who can play as a left back. And then moving on then within the heart of midfield, I do foresee then a double pivot of Blom and Yusuf Mart. And then as the number 10, Nkosimpile Ngobo. Off the left-hand side, Kama Billiat. Up front, Ashley Dupreeh. And then off the right-hand side, Keegan Dolly. So this is the team then that I foresee Kaizer Chiefs to go into the new season with. But of course, the transfer window is still open. So there are still so many options and so many players that Kaizer Chiefs can actually go out and sign. However, ladies and gentlemen, do let me know at home, what do you make of the new players that Kaizer Chiefs have signed, and which then do you think is the system that they will go with going into the new season? And give me then your starting 11 with Kaizer Chiefs. Thank you very much for tuning in to yet another special episode of Diski Talk with Liolo. Signing out.